If you ever wanted a good overall look at 1970s youth culture, the best you are probably ever going to do is watch this movie that came out in the early 90s. It is the 1993 film, Dazed and Confused. The movie is set in the mid-1970s and follows an eclectic cast of teenagers. The entire film takes place on the last day of the school year as all the characters search for a good time and participate in hazing traditions. I first saw this movie on cable in the mid-90s when it aired on the USA Network, back when it was still a fairly new film. I was too young to really relate to it at the time, but I still enjoyed it even as a young kid. Today as an adult, I can totally recognize it as a truly great coming-of-age film that has a timeless quality to it, even though it is set in the 1970s. The movie was directed by an up-and-coming filmmaker named Richard Linklater, and despite its initial commercial failures, it ended up gaining a huge cult following over the years. Well, with all that, this is the 1993 movie, Dazed and Confused, 10 Things You May Not Know. Number 10. After director Richard Linklater had released his successful small-budget 1991 experimental art film Slacker, he intended to make an anti-nostalgic movie about the 1970s because he felt that the decade sucked. He later said that the problem with trying to make an anti-nostalgia film is similar to the problem with making an anti-war film. Just by depicting it, you unintentionally make it look fun. Originally, Dazed and Confused was supposed to be another experimental film that all takes place in a car, showing four friends riding around listening to the entire length of ZZ Top's fourth album Fandango while busting mailboxes. Over time though, the project evolved because Linklater wanted to make a movie that represented different points of view. The project was then fast-tracked by Universal and it leapfrogged over 30 other film projects at the studio. Number 9. By the early 1990s there weren't a lot of big teen films being released, so a lot of young actors auditioned for the movie. A few of those young actors who went on to become big names and auditioned but didn't get parts included Mark Ruffalo, Hilary Swank, Jared Leto, Alicia Silverstone, and Vince Vaughn. Actress Claire Danes had also auditioned, going for the role of incoming freshman Sabrina. Director Richard Linklater really liked Danes for the part, but she was just too young and couldn't leave school at the time. Actress Renee Zellweger auditioned for the role of senior and mean girl Darla Marks, but the role went to Parker Posey. Zellweger did have a non-speaking role though, as a senior who pops up in the movie as one of Parker Posey's character's friends. Number 8. The film doesn't exactly have a central main character being an ensemble cast, but if you had to choose one, it would either be starting quarterback Randall Pink Floyd played by Jason London or nervous incoming freshman Mitch Kramer. Actor Wiley Wiggins played Mitch and was considered a big find when cast in the role. Linklater later described Wiggins as a 15-year-old with all the bad habits of a grad student, such as smoking cigarettes and hanging out in coffee shops, which Linklater said was his type of guy. The only part of the role that Wiggins had trouble with was the baseball pitching scene. He had embellished his ability to play baseball, and Linklater ended up having to get a double with a wig and film them from behind pitching the ball. Number 7. The biggest actor who came out of the movie was easily Matthew McConaughey. Originally, his breakout role of Wooderson was meant to be small and cast locally for budget reasons. That changed though when actor Shawn Andrews, who played Pickford, wasn't getting along with the rest of the cast and even got into a physical altercation with Jason London, which director Linklater had to break up. Because of all the shenanigans on the set by Andrews, Linklater reduced his role and expanded McConaughey's role as Wooderson. Despite appearing on the poster, this unfortunately also reduced actress Milla Jovovich's role by association because she played Andrews' girlfriend in the movie. Although Wooderson was supposed to be a somewhat creepy older guy that hung out with teens, McConaughey, who at the time was a film student at the University of Texas, was actually younger than some of the cast members playing high school teenagers. Number 6. Many of Matthew McConaughey's characteristics and personality for his character of Wooderson were inspired by his older brother Pat McConaughey, who he looked up to when he was a kid. He has also explained that the inspiration for his 3 consecutive "all right" catchphrase came from a live recording of Jim Morrison, the frontman of the rock band The Doors. Number 5. the casting of bully and flunked senior, O'Banion, came down to two actors who became very well known later on, Vince Vaughn and Ben Affleck. Both of them had the physical characteristics for the part, but director Richard Linklater just found Affleck more appealing. After losing that role, Vaughn was almost cast as the character of Senior Benny, but he didn't get that role either, because he and Affleck physically just looked too similar at the time, so the part of Benny went to actor Cole Hauser instead. Affleck said later that he was the only one in the film's cast that didn't benefit much from the role because he was the most unlikable character in a movie full of likable characters. Number 4. Ben Affleck accidentally shattered his ankle while filming. In one scene, Mitch, Carl and their other friends get revenge and play a trick on Affleck's character O'Banion where they set him up by making him think he is about to bust Carl and then pour white paint all over him. Afterwards, O'Banion is enraged and breaks his paddle on the concrete, which unfortunately causes Affleck to break his ankle at the same time. To his credit though, Affleck finishes the scene by getting in the car and driving off while obviously in a lot of pain. Number 3. Several 1970s-era pinball machines are visible in the scenes inside the Emporium where all the characters hang out. These pinball machines include Williams Pinball Company made Pat Hand released in 1975, Aztec released in 1976, Line Drive released in 1972, Gottlieb Company made Sweethearts released in 1963, Papa Card released in 1972, Flying Carpet released in 1972, and one machine made by Bally's called Odds and Evens released in 1973. Number 2. There are a few subtle references made to the film in another Richard Linklater movie, the 2014 film, Boyhood. The high school location in Dazed and Confused is the same location where Boyhood main character Mason goes to middle school. The real school is named Bedichek Middle School and is located in Austin, Texas. In one scene in Dazed and Confused, actor David Blackwell plays a friendly talkative clerk who sells the underage Mitch a 6-pack of beer when Mitch uses phrases he heard Wooderson say earlier. In Boyhood, Blackwell plays a similar clerk character working in a liquor store. Mason and his stepbrother come into the liquor store and cash a check for Mason's stepdad who is waiting in the car. People have theorized that Blackwell is actually playing the same character in both movies, meaning that both films are technically set in the same universe. Number 1. When the movie was released in theaters on September 24, 1993, it ended up only making about $8 million on a budget of $6.9 million, which was a pretty big commercial disappointment for director Richard Linklater and Universal. 1/6 of that budget alone went towards licensing the expensive 1970s-era rock music soundtrack. Although initially a disappointment, the movie did much better later when released on video and cable TV, becoming a cult classic coming-of-age film. It is a nostalgic favorite for baby boomers due to it symbolically representing their generation's final years of adolescence. It is also a huge favorite of later generations because the youth culture within the film has such a timeless, authentic quality to it that any generation can relate to the movie. Well, that was the 1993 movie, Dazed and Confused, 10 Things You May Not Know. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, you can subscribe and check out all my other movie-related content right here at Dave Likes Movies. If you have any suggestions for future movies I should cover on here, just let me know in the comments.